Hi guys, welcome back to episode 2 of We Evolve. And today's episode is going to be a little more serious topic. We're going to be talking about suicide. But Alina, if you want to take it away, you can start it off.
Yeah, I have found that not only from research but also personal experience that when looking at it from a first generation in America context or a second generation immigrants, um, it stems from one of two reasons, mainly from being trapped and feeling as though the only way to set you free is through unfortunately committing suicide, but it's one, you are forced to dress, act, walk, talk, eat, behave, be interested in exactly what your parents want, what they expect of you. You are not allowed to have opinions and thoughts of your own, essentially. And for Christians specifically, there is the concept of like God gave you free will. If you didn't have free will, then that takes away exactly what makes you human, because an inanimate object, you force it to do whatever its purpose is. But once you give it the ability to think and speak for itself, like I said, that's what makes you human. And when you take that part away from somebody, it's very dehumanizing. And that leads to suicidal ideation. Second reason is when they do try to meet their parents' expectations and then fail miserably. Maybe not miserably, but to their expectations, their thoughts, they think it was miserably. You're told, like, I came to this country to provide for you, to feed you, clothe you, bathe you, and the least you can do is not disappoint me. And that sounds like a very small feat, but in reality it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And when you reach that level of guilt, you fall into patterns of addiction, neglectfulness of your own self care, direct self harm, internal and external conflicts. You're more likely to get into arguments with people because you're guilty, you're frustrated, you're put into this earth for this one purpose, and you can't even do that. But in reality, that's not true. You're not put onto this earth for a specific reason. You're not here to please everyone else. You're not here for anything. You're just here to live. You live your life.
Mhm.
And when people don't realize that, they want to take that life away. That's the reason for suicidal ideation. And we can go deeper into, there's actually articles and scientific research based on the higher suicidal rates among our demographic and our generation. But as of right now, what do you guys think about what I just said?
I mean, I feel like I fully agree with like everything you said. I think that I have personally felt, I mean, maybe not to the extent of like suicide per se, but I have felt like the whole um your parents kind of saying like the whole disappoint, like, don't disappoint me, whatever. All that stuff, like I feel like that is definitely something that I've gone through, and actually know a lot of people that have gone through that. And it's just kind of it's just like, I guess you're in this like state where it's a lot of things can disappoint your parents. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like one thing, like, oh, you don't do good in school. It's not just like one thing. And I think that that kind of weighs down on a person, and then it's like, even though something small could have like caused a disappointment, it could like lead to something drastic like suicide.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like within like the Asian community, it's just I understand why there's like a higher rate for like that's what you're saying, right? For the Asian community, it's like a higher rate of
Well, no, it's just
like our first
not
generation.
yeah, it's just like first generation Americans or second
Yeah.
generation immigrants. Like you can be Asian, you can be from any country in Africa, any country in South America, it doesn't matter. As long as you are the first generation to be
Yeah.
born in this country, you have a higher likelihood, according to scientific study, which I will source
Which I
later.
get is because it's so sad that it's like you are coming here because your parents gave you the opportunity, so you have to like make the most of it,
Yeah.
and you can't disappoint them and then disappoint your future family. So like that.
I agree. It's also like almost like whatever your parents say kind of is like instilled in you since you were
Mm-hmm.
little.
Mm-hmm.
So even though something like even though it may not upset your parents or disappoint your parents, it's like internally it could feel like it would disappoint your parents.
Yeah.
And then that can like eventually build up to the point where, like you resort to like suicide and like that, like those kind of things, like self-harm, like whatever it is. But I think the reason why it comes for a lot of first generation Americans is because, I mean, like, coming to America is not like it's not just like book a flight, come here, it's a hard process.
Yeah.
So
You're
the people,
building.
right, the people that come here, like, no doubt worked hard to get here and like, and there are definitely so many people out there in different countries that like wish they could come here, like, but couldn't get here. So obviously, like, being an immigrant, coming here, getting a citizenship, and then having a kid, and then all this stuff, it's like, it's a lot of work. It's hard work that, like, your parents have. And then that kind of like passes on to the kid. And then they're like, oh, like, even though, so like, okay, I know there's some parents that are very like, they're kind of like straightforward with how it is, like, oh, like, we did this, like, don't disappoint. But there's also those parents that don't say anything, but their kids can still,
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Communicate in a
Yeah.
passive aggressive fashion.
right.
It's like
And
they'll wait till they get to the end and then be like, "Oh, we came here. We did so much for you.
yeah,
And you
but
let
not
us
even people
down."
like that. There's even like, I feel like there's also parents that don't say anything to like provoke any of this kind of, like, they don't,
Mm-hmm.
some parents like are just very, very selfless. Like, they don't really talk about their past and how, like that.
Mm-hmm.
But their kids can still feel like, oh, my parents did so much and I'm still disappointing
Yeah.
them. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And like, what I'm trying to say is, like, yes, while I do think most of the cases do come from like the parents and like the push, because I know from their parents' aspect, they're probably not thinking like this, me saying they're disappointing me is gonna like cause that. You know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
think a lot of parents, like, I guess now they are realizing, like, now since there have been like several suicides of like immigrants and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
people of color, I think people are realizing, but I think a lot of people kind of realize once it's too late, like once people are already,
Yeah. I mean, well, actually, I mentioned this in the last podcast, and I'll mention this again. So, this book by Erica L. Sanchez, I Am Not Your
sorry, hold
Perfect
on.
Mexican
By the
Mother.
way,
Yeah.
if you guys didn't watch our first podcast, we did address like most of this book, and so if you guys want to understand this one a little bit better, maybe watch the first one first.
Yeah. But essentially, with this book, it talks about a first generation born American that is of Mexican descent and her experience going through several hardships, and it all starts off with her sister dying. And you mentioned like how this is really predominant in the Asian community. Well, this is a perfect example of how this is really just universal experience.
Like immigrants.
Yeah.
I know
Race
it's
wise, but
upsetting too. It's like when you see like these immigrants that come in, like they have to like fit into both worlds. They have to be like the really
yeah.
good like child to their parents and like follow those like cultures, but also try to fit in like socially here too. Be like have a lot of friends,
I
like,
agree.
go out, like fit in with this culture, but also be able to maintain that. And
Right.
it's so hard switching between both lives. It's like I can see.
I mentioned in the first podcast how when I was little, I wanted to be white so bad, if you guys remember. But this is a very, very small example of what you're saying, because when we were little, I wanted to be white so bad, and that was to fit in my school and, like the community we were in. And then also like at home, I had to be like the perfect Indian girl. And
Yeah.
it's so hard because
Yeah.
it's like, like just things like that. I guess that's a very, very small example
Or
of,
like Indian food, like bringing it to school and
yeah,
hiding. I used to
I know.
hide that and eat it. And they would be like, "Oh, what's that smell?" And then then I would like beg my mom, like, "Can you make me sandwiches?" Like,
Yeah.
it's so sad. Like,
Because, like, we actually enjoy the food.
I know,
And it's just,
yeah.
like,
And we're
feel,
like, what, 6, 7? Like, why are we going through that right now?
and yeah.
It's so sad.
I mean, I do think it's, like, a little bit, I mean, it's probably a little bit better now,
Way
but when
better
we
now.
were little,
It was bad.
it was, like, I
It
think
was
it was
bad.
bad.
Because, we weren't like,
I didn't
yeah.
have that experience.
Really?
Like I didn't bring Indian food to school
Oh.
because, well, My dad just made me PB&J sandwiches every day, because that's all that we had really. And then like that's a struggle that y'all went through. I have nothing. I don't know. Because I
Nah.
can't talk. Because
But I do think that's like I don't think that's just a struggle that like Daisy people go through. I'm sure that
Like a lot
other
of
cultures like
But now everyone's becoming more appreciative of it. Have you noticed like, oh,
I
like
do.
there's
Well, I
also
also do think that it's also because there's a lot more. There's a lot more immigrants
Yeah.
that are
At
like
that time there
coming.
wasn't.
There's
Yeah.
also like it's portrayed in film when you look at people from
Right,
Latin
yeah.
cultures when they bring in like rice and beans or like
Mhm.
a burrito, and then like the other kids will make fun of them and say like, what do you bring beans? And then they'll like name the racial slur to them, and it's like that relates to that, and
Yeah.
it's upsetting. But or like I remember one time my grandmother, she was cooking beef curry and she didn't understand the concept of like turning a fan on and off because it's like attached to the stove. That's not something that you really see. And so at least in India or even in New
Yeah.
Jersey.
Yeah, they don't.
And so then all the smells seeped into the clothes, and so I put the jacket on and I went, and then everybody just called me a curry muncher for the rest of the day.
Oh my God.
So it's like they're like, you smell bad. You smell like farts, and like, are you a curry muncher? Or like, and like say stuff like that, and I'm like,
Well, how old were you?
I was in elementary
Oh
school.
my God.
No, that's not real.
No,
That's so
but
sad.
no,
You're so young.
I went home and I had some good food.
Oh, so you it didn't like really affect you? You didn't like
I feel okay, sometimes I think that
I just
you were catching me putting perfume every time then. Like I
no,
would care
because
so much.
for me,
I would care
I
too.
just I was just like every time my parents make any curry, like they all make sure that the fans are on. That's pretty much because my grandmother, she didn't live with this type of stuff. She doesn't realize, okay, put the fan on because it's gonna seep into the clothes. But yeah, now, well, I guess yeah, now I subconsciously have a deep importance towards the way that I smell because there is a stereotype that Indian people smell bad, and we're not the only race to have that stereotype put upon us. So it's very important to me that when I walk into a room,
You smell
people
nice.
don't automatically assume like people think that I smell nice.
This brings me back. This kind of reminds me of. I don't know if you guys ever seen that TikTok video that went viral, and it was like, which race would you not date?
And it's always
And it was
Indians.
Indian. And you know, it's crazy. They're having like recently. There's like that Indian like what is it called? Like the Indian like
Indian great shift.
Indian great shift.
It's
Because like
some
they're like
weird
realizing that
thing.
Indian people are like also
Pretty.
attractive and like also like do all these
But
like cool
everyone's just
things. Like
realizing that now.
isn't that crazy? Like that's
That's
just
so
like
stupid.
they I don't know. Like it's just like it's also like I think it's like even if pretend there's like a group of 50 Indian people,
Mhm.
not even Indian, like this could be any race, any culture, whatever. If like one smells bad, they're like the
Oh,
whole
y'all do.
group, the whole group smells bad.
Stupid, bruh.
And it's just like it's
Assumption.
sad.
Yeah.
It's sad assumption. It's generalization that's really
Yeah.
unfair. And then that causes you to unfortunately face the wrath of somebody else's decisions. Like if one person messes it up, then they mess it up for the whole group. And
Yeah.
we're not groups, we're individuals. We didn't just like what do you think we all came together on the same boat? Like that's not how
Right, yeah.
we're in the same boat, but we didn't come in the same boat. We're all individuals that are going through the same struggle.
Uh-huh.
And having someone look at me for who I am as a person rather than this color of my skin would greatly lower my chances of not fitting in.
Right. I also think what was I gonna say? I was gonna say, I think it's also has to do with like the way like human minds work. I think when someone says something good about you, that's something that you kind of eventually will forget about. But when someone says something bad about you,
Never forget about
that's
it.
something you will never forget.
It's like always there
And
that
I
you'll think
think
about it.
that's like a small version that becomes a big part of the reason why someone can do something drastic like self-harm or like have suicidal thoughts or whatever because even though someone is going through suicide they can have an amazing family, amazing, like friendship, whatever, that's trying to like get them through it. But those negative thoughts or whatever, like someone said to them or whatever it is, like the bullying or whatever,
You never know what's going on in someone's
is
head.
can sometimes like in your head overweigh it, but it's not in reality it's not, but like that's just how our mind works. Does that
That's
make
true.
sense?
Yeah. And then going back to this book, the main character actually did try and commit suicide, and then she ended up being hospitalized, and she has a therapist, Dr. Cook, and she asks about her life in the future. What are your aspirations? And the main character says, I want to be a writer, I finally say. I want to be independent. I want to have a life of my own. I want to hang out with my friends without being interrogated. I want privacy. I just want to breathe, you know? Dr. Cook nods. I understand. So, how are you going to make that happen? What exactly is stopping you? She asked in a way that's not judgmental or anything, but really trying to understand. Hardly anyone talks to me like this. I want to move away, go to college. I don't want to live in Chicago. I don't feel like I can grow here. My parents want me to be a person I don't want to be. I love my mom, but she drives me crazy. I understand that she's upset about my sister. We all are, but I feel so suffocated. I'm nothing like Olga, and I never will be. There's nothing I can do to change that. That speaks volumes because it goes back to what I said before, where you feel like you're suffocated and you feel like you are being pushed into a life that you never asked for, and you're being forced to be a person you never wanted to be, and meet expectations that were set for you before you were even born. And yes, your parents are doing that for your betterment because they want to see you go through future success. But what does that mean if you're not happy?
No.
Yeah.
It's like so many people have told me after I told them about different aspirations that my parents had for me, and they always say the same thing, which is, well, when your parents are dead and you still have that job, or you still have that career, you still have that husband or wife that you're with, are you going to be sad about their death, or are you just going to have nothing but resentment? And are you even going to be happy with yourself?
That's a
It's like,
good that's a
yeah,
deep thought, bro. I never thought about it like that. That's like a good way to
because like
think about the future,
you're
I
like,
guess.
are you living your life for them or are you living the life for yourself, you know?
Right. And then even if you don't end up at the point of having suicidal ideation, patterns like this still create anxiety and resentment. And oftentimes, even when your family is treating you well and like you might be having some mundane moment with them where you are eating breakfast, you're going out to lunch, you're watching a movie, it doesn't matter. Where you're all getting along on the outside. On the inside, in your head, you have a deep dislike for the people that you come from, which is extremely disheartening. And what that is essentially is resentment.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I will say like I don't think like the perfect family exists. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure
Every
everyone
family has
has
their flaws.
yeah, every family has those flaws, but it's more about I guess what you do about it. Are you just gonna like is it gonna continue from like generation to generation? Is anyone gonna fix it? It's like one of those things, I guess. But I do totally resonate with the whole um I love my mom, I love my family, but they drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Because I mean, after coming to college, like I love my parents, love my family, literally go home every single weekend. But wow, like I have not felt this much
Like freedom,
independence and
right?
freedom ever. And it's not even like I'm doing anything crazy here in culture. I'm doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just like you
You
the
can
small
breathe.
things, like you can cook whatever you want. You can eat whatever you want to eat. You can
No, no,
go to the gym
yeah.
whenever you want to go to the gym. You can not go to the gym if you don't want to go to the gym. You can pick your classes. Like there's just the small stuff, like it just makes you feel like you're kind of free, but it's not even like you're trapped at home. But it almost feels like you are.
No, I
Even though that's not the environment that your family's trying to set for you, or they're not intentionally ever doing that. But it still feels like you're kind of trapped and you don't, get to make your own decisions. And we did talk about this like in our last podcast about last episode, sorry, about how like the gender stereotypes with, Asian families and everything.
Like gender
Go.
and income
Yeah.
are big factors in whether or not somebody feels trapped. But you were saying
No,
something.
I was just going off her point. Like, it's like going to the store at night. Like, if I just want to go buy something, like, I don't have to tell anyone. I just go, do my own thing, come back. But it's like, if I'm at home, I have to, like, I have to
Gotta
give
have
my
permission.
permission. Tell me what you want, the reasoning for it. Like, why do you need to go now? Like, there's just
You need
more.
3 letter of recommendations,
Right.
5 references,
No,
and a
yeah.
chaperone if you
Right.
want to even think about going to Kroger on your own.
Right.
Literally, they're fine with it usually. Like, they're usually fine with it, but like, it's also like I like
It's like
there's
you
a
have to
switch.
ask them.
There's a switch, yeah. Like, I
Like,
feel
you
like
have
at
to ask
home,
them.
I have to ask permission. I might have to take my like brother with me or something, but it's like there's more to do then, where it's like right now, like it's literally just I would go to the store and come back.
But
Right.
they're doing it for the sake of your safety.
Right. But then it's just like, okay, like even something small, like, like I'm sure like we've all had like study dates with our friends where we just go and study, like whether it's on campus or like at coffee shops, whatever it is. We can just go whenever we want to go. It's final
Oh
season.
my God, yes.
You can go whenever you want.
Oh,
When you're at
Anytime.
home, like you
Where
have
are
to
you
ask
going?
permission.
What are you
Where are
doing?
you
Are
going?
you really
Why can't
studying?
you study here?
Exactly.
Why are you sitting with your friend?
What?
Like
I was studying at a coffee shop with my friend, and then there's my parents looking at my location, being like, I know where you are. What are you doing right now? Why are you there? Are you studying at a coffee shop? Who studies at a coffee shop?
yeah, exactly. It's
So
just
they're
like
still looking at your location, like even here.
I mean, my parents look too. I mean, I don't really
My parents
mind.
will
really.
send a picture of my location
where are you?
back to me, and they're like, "Where are you right now?"
Oh
It
my
is
God.
9:37 p.m. on a
Oh,
Tuesday.
at a nighttime.
What do you?
The
No,
thing about
all hours of the day.
So like right now.
Like one time, this is a funny story. This is a real funny story. Okay, we're gonna get back on topic, but one
it's okay. We
time,
need it to be like a little bit lighthearted.
no, it's gonna be lighthearted, but I guess depends on how you look at it. But
yeah, if you have a lot of trauma like us, then you'll laugh. But if not, then maybe you won't resonate.
no, I mean, some
Like, they're
viewers
like-
might think this is funny. Some viewers might press the skip button. But
Say it.
the point being is, I was in my dorm sleeping at 12, and I had a class during that time, but I was sick. And so I didn't tell my parents that I was sick. I fell asleep the night before, and I was so exhausted that I didn't wake up until later on in the day. And my parents expect me to send my schedule to them, like my school schedule, so they know exactly where I'm supposed to be, when I'm supposed to be there. And
Oh my God, that's actually crazy.
and then
Yeah.
my parents check my location, and they're like, "You're supposed to be at this location at this time, but instead you are at your dorm." And when they kept calling me and texting me, I didn't pick up because guess what? I was asleep. So what did they decide to do? All of a sudden I hear Athens PD. I'm like,
Oh my God.
and you know what? That wouldn't
You're
be the first
joking.
No, it's not even the first time that happened, and it wasn't even the last. I tell you that right now.
Oh my
And so
God,
next thing you know,
kiddo.
I open up the door, and the cop is there, and honestly, we just laughed about the situation.
Okay,
because
maybe
I was
no one
fine.
can relate.
I'm shocked. Wait, so did you you're like, oh, I know why you're here. Like, were you
That's why they're here.
so this is
My dad, as I was talking to the police
my
officer, I'm
God.
like, "Yep, Dad, yep, I see him. Yep, he's right there. Oh, you're on the phone with him too? Yeah." And then he's just on the he goes on the intercom, and he's like, "Yeah, she's fine." I was like, "Yeah, I
Wait,
fell
actually,
asleep.
oh my
Wait,
God.
I'm
You're just like sleeping.
I was just sleeping.
Bro was sick.
No, I wasn't drinking, doing drugs,
Bro was
hungover.
sick.
I was sick.
Like I have a cold. Like I couldn't make it to
No, because
class.
I had to move from one dorm to another.
Mhm.
So I haven't been sleeping for many nights consecutively because I was just trying to move everything, unpack, and it was in January, so I think I got the flu or something like that. I went to the UHC, and then They checked me out for that. It was all excused, and I just fell asleep. Like last time I spoke to my parents was the night before, and so then I fell asleep and I just didn't wake up the next morning because I was still sleeping. I was so exhausted, and that was the outcome.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I'm here thinking like your parents came
Yeah,
and knocked on your door.
I thought they came. I did not know the, oh my
That's
God.
The
actually
police came,
crazy.
and you know what it takes for the police to come. They have to
Say like she's missing. Like I'm
to
not
say
able to
that
get in
she's
contact
missing.
with her.
You have to give them all of my personal
What time was this?
information, all of their personal information. This was like
Like
12 o'clock.
how many times, like
How
how
many
many
times?
minutes, no, not times, like how many minutes past her class was that?
I don't
That's I
remember,
don't
to
think.
be honest. It was like probably right in the middle of the class.
Oh my God,
I
that's
couldn't tell you.
insane.
But
Like,
it's a funny story to look back
it
at.
is. It's crazy.
It's like
But
put a finger down if your parents call the cops on you.
oh my God.
What the
Oh my God.
Oh my
But
God.
um to go back on the topic of suicide and feeling
Wow.
like you don't have a
Wow.
control over your life. In the scientific study, suicide attempts among first and second generation immigrants done by Tariq A. Yilmaz and Anita Rachel Rosler, their results, or their conclusion, was that female migrants of second generation, which is where we stand,
Mhm.
seem to be at risk with regard to suicidal behavior. Violence seems to be a significant problem in suicidal female immigrants of both generations.
Oh, wow.
And so essentially, they're touching on domestic abuse.
Mhm.
That's another huge
Gosh.
reason why somebody might feel as though they want to kill themselves because, yeah, mentally, you feel like you're having this battle, but then it turns physical.
They're
And
just stuck.
you're stuck in a marriage,
Attachment.
you're stuck with your parent, and you're stuck being abused by somebody, and then you can't get out. And the only way to set you free is if you die.
Oh my God.
And
I
that is the
think that,
conclusion.
like, I guess
So
that
sad.
conclusion is a very, like, I've seen it a lot in my friends' families. It's actually crazy because it's like,
I actually had a family member that
Passed away due to
that
domestic violence.
committed suicide.
due to domestic violence.
Not see, I'm not gonna say that because
This,
I don't
I
know
mean, it's
her.
probably a lot more than just
I don't know her full story. I don't because we don't talk about her anymore. We don't talk
because
about
it's like that's not something we talk about.
that's
Suicide, like we don't
no.
speak about it.
I didn't know.
They had like a weak
So
mind.
yeah,
That's what they say.
something
Yes,
happens to
yes.
I've heard that so
but
many
not only
times.
that, but like oh, I don't know what happened. Maybe people kept making fun of her or something.
No, they blame
And
yeah.
that right there, that's all I know about this person because they brought up this person and I was like, oh, who's this? They're like, oh, she's just like you. Oh, she was so smart. She was so pretty. Oh, she was just a wonderful girl. And I'm like, how come I've never seen this before? Because I saw this family and I always thought that one of their daughters was the eldest daughter. I'm like, no, there was another older daughter that came before them. I'm like, what? How come I never knew about this person? What happened to her? Oh, she killed herself. Like just
Oh my God.
casually, which leads me into the next topic of um keeping secrets from your family, but that's a big one and that's like suicide is just something that's so taboo. You never talk about it, and if you mention it up for just a second, take it away immediately because that doesn't belong here.
I think also immigrants kind of maybe it's not just immigrants, maybe it's just general population, but people kind of undermine the severity of like what that person was feeling before. It's not like you just call someone like say something like you just say a comment and they just
Yeah,
go like that's not what's happening.
yeah.
But like I think a lot of people's minds that's what they just think that it's something that someone said.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like that's
There's so
it's
many
usually
factors.
like
Yeah.
months,
Yeah,
years worth
yeah.
of trauma that have
Yeah.
just built up to this point where this
That
person feels that there is no relief in their near future
and their only way of
and
getting
their
out.
only way to get out of it. And in like the victim of the suicide,
Yeah.
it's like in their mind, they would rather, like
It's hopelessness.
exactly. And it's just like it's so upsetting to see that not only do people not understand how important it is to be, I guess,
Like,
educated
yeah.
on suicide when
Yeah.
have not just have kids, I guess, like even if you have like nieces and nephews, friends, like whatever it is, like I just think it's very, very important to know the signs of someone that's depressed or,
Yes.
The
going into
The
suicidal
thing,
thoughts. But
yeah.
I do think that one, people aren't really educated on it because
Yeah.
people don't talk about it. But then it's like, well, it's because people are not talking about it that people don't know about it, and that's why it's a cycle. And then on top of that, it's like one, they don't do any of the prevention stuff, or
Mhm.
they don't even try to participate in any of that stuff. Two, it's like once it happens, in their mind, oh, like they just had a weak mind. Like, oh, they couldn't
Yeah.
take like the little
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
comments from these people. And it's even like I know there's like younger, I know we're like pushing 20, but there's younger kids that a lot of them have like been suicidal because of like cyberbullying. And
Mm.
when people when obviously we kind of know what cyberbullying is a little bit, I guess, but our parents, if you say my friend
Yeah.
like was suicidal from cyber, they're here thinking like, oh, like someone called them ugly.
Yeah, yeah.
And like that's not what's happening. It's not
No.
just one comment that's pushing them over the edge.
And there are
It's
people
like
online that will tell you slit your throat, go kill yourself.
exactly. And then also it's like
Imagine hearing
you
that
have your
all the time too.
insecurities and then like everyone has insecurities. Like even like the most perfect person can have insecurities. And then people online are pushing
Typically,
that.
it's the most perfect people that have the most insecurities.
Right. And then there's people put it's just it's the stuff that's built up. Like people don't just have depression or anxiety from like one little thing. It's usually something that's built up and led to this point.
Going off of what you said with, oh, if I told my parents, and that goes along the lines of your experiences are going to be different than theirs. And to go along another study that was actually published in 2024 titled Suicidality in First Generation, Second Generation, and Non-Immigrant Youth in Canada. So this was done in Canada. Um, and the results were second generation immigrants had almost twice the risk of first generation immigrants and non immigrants of having attempted suicide. The association between second generation immigrant status and suicide attempt was stronger among those not from low income households and
I'm
those
like
with
tearing up.
divorced parents.
This is such a like sensitive topic because I like literally know people that like go through things like this.
Yeah. How does that make you feel?
I think it's the generational trauma going passed on. You know what I mean? Because it's a second gen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Immigrants. So it's not like our generation, it's the generation that comes after us. So it's like people who like think like they
Well, I think
follow.
they're talking about we are the second
Oh,
generation.
what?
We are the second
So it says
generation.
first generation immigrants, not first
Okay,
generation.
well, not generational trauma, but it could be like as a future thing. But
Out of
yeah,
curiosity, when you mentioned like, oh, there are people that have gone through this, were they more males or more females?
Females.
mine was a male.
Really?
Yeah, no one knew what he was going through, and all of a sudden he killed himself, and
Oh,
everyone.
so you
Oh,
personally know this
oh yeah.
person.
I have met him when I was younger,
But
but it
as in
was
like
like,
you
yeah,
you
yeah,
know this person. It's
yes,
not
yes.
someone like you heard it's on the
No, no,
news
no,
or
I'm not
like
hearing
okay.
it. Like I know this person, so they were going through something, I think depression for a really long time, but no one knew because it happened in India and so taboo, right? It's not talked about. Weak mind, like no one's gonna, yeah.
India.
And
Okay.
they can't open up and talk about their feelings because it's like he's also a man, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I guess like the stereotype is like
It's like even
yeah,
worse.
it's like men are not supposed to show tears, not supposed to cry, no feelings, like they have to be strong always. So he went through hell and
In the study, it says that this is more common among males than it is females, and a lot of the people that I know that have gone through things like this are typically male. And I feel like another reason for that is because, well, when looking at it from the immigrant perspective, you are now the man of the house. You have to take care of everyone. Well, then who's going to be there to take care of you? But
Mhm.
you have found more females to be victim of suicidal ideation. What is a common pattern that you've seen?
Okay, one thing I will say is I think something that I've noticed is that I feel in my life or like my friends' lives, there are more females that go through suicidal thoughts and depression, but there are more males that actually do suicide.
Yeah.
I just think that it's not even about like the weak mind or anything. It's not anything like that. I just think that the reason that there's more males that actually go through with it
Mhm.
is because
They're holding their feelings
that,
in, you
and
know?
also, listen, like if my friend tells me that she's having suicidal thoughts, like I will be there for her 100%.
Yeah.
What are the chances that a male will go tell his friend that? Like his support system is probably so much like less than someone that's female, which I do think is like a huge, like think about if females didn't have the support system that they had with their like friends, families, siblings, whatever, it would probably be equal.
Hmm.
Something that I have come across is when females are upset, they like to talk it out. When males are upset,
They
they like
hold
to,
it in.
well, not
They would go
necessarily, they
do
like to
other stuff,
do
right?
something that they are
They,
good at.
yeah.
So they're not actually expressing the problem.
They just put it in the
So,
back of their mind.
not to say like one method is better than the other, but in the topic of suicide, that is something that is almost essential to sit down and talk about, let people know. That way you can get help in different ways
Exactly, yeah.
beyond just doing something that you're good at. So, for example, as you mentioned with females, and that's probably why you've had more experiences with females that go through suicidal ideation because they actually tell you. There might be a lot of other males in your life, friends, family, that also have the same thing. You just never know.
Exactly.
And so, um, by them telling you, that's one thing, but let's just say hypothetically you have a cousin who is like, "Hey Deeksha, can we go play basketball real quick?" You might be thinking, "Oh, he just wants to play basketball." In his head, he's like, "I'm going through it right now, and I just need to do something that'll make me feel better."
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said earlier in this episode, I have never gone to the extent of, like self-harm or anything, but I I've been like almost to that point, and I do think like if I didn't have the friends, the support system that I had, it would have been like so much harder. And I also think like I'm a like I'm a crazy overthinker. So when I don't have someone telling me like, listen, like, yeah, this is happening right now, but eventually it'll pass. And well, this was also when I was in high school, so I was living at home, and it's not like my parents did anything to make me feel like that. It's just like everything. It's not, and this was also during COVID, so I was at home every day, all day long. And it's just like like I said, like not every family, no family is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Every family goes, through that. And I guess during COVID, a lot of people were depressed actually during COVID. I think the
I know
rates
the
like
rate
raised, but
rose
I
during that
think that's
time.
just because people didn't see anyone else other than their family. And
Yeah.
how, like, even if you were locked in a house with your best friend for a year, 100% you guys are gonna be fighting
Hell
at
yeah.
some point. So I guess it was like all that stuff, and I was, really there. And if I didn't have people that were like, listen, like COVID's gonna pass, like you're gonna go back to school, you're gonna eventually go to college, like just study, try to get into a good college, make it out. There are so many things that you could be doing to make your situation better in the future. You just have to look past what is going on right now. And I think that having someone tell you that and not just you thinking it is so different.
No, I agree with you. I feel like during the time where it was like, you know how you could choose to go back to school or not in the 10th grade time, I was like, my mom was like, no, you're staying at home. I was like, please, like, I really like want to go back to school. 'Cause I can't, it's the same four people you see every day.
Yeah, I remember we were in the same
I
class, and that
know.
was like my little
Yeah.
escape, like
Oh,
the
which,
1 hour that
wait,
we were
I didn't
in
you were
healthcare
too.
class. No.
No, I went to class in person during
The
COVID.
whole thing. Okay.
The whole
So
time.
we had that
Okay.
one class where we would go, and that was like our one time of like, it was like every Tuesday or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. Once a week where we just saw other people, we did other things. It was like a little break.
Yeah.
And then you go back.
And it was like that one day a week we would wear clothes that weren't pajamas. We would
Oh my God, I
like
can remember those
That's
days.
we would actually,
crazy.
I don't know, it was just like that 1 hour like just made it better because it was like every day you would look forward to like the
To
next
that,
time that
yeah.
you would go back to
I would
school.
look forward to going to school, which is crazy.
Yeah. And it was like,
It puts things into perspective. You know, like why so many people throughout the world fight so hard to get an education, because when you are finally put in the paradigm of staying at home, you realize its value.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I found a poem that was actually written by a first generation Indian American
okay.
about, well, it's about suicide, but I don't know if you can tell just from reading it. And the author, like her name is Kaduvamma.
Okay.
And so I pulled up the poem,
What
I
does that
downloaded it.
mean?
In Malayalam it means so Garuva means tiger, and then Amma is like typically like a nickname. So Veliama or Kochama means like, you know, big sister, little sister, or if you have if your daughter's name or your sister's name is Mariama or Maria, then her name, everybody's gonna call her Mariama.
So it's like a form of respect.
I suppose like
Of
my
like a
Like Mr. Mrs. kind of.
not it's like just a cultural thing that you put
Because
that
I
you
guess we
have
use
like
like akka for
well,
older
yeah, so
sisters.
like we use chechi
But do
in
you
the
have like a
cha-cha.
younger aunt and an older aunt? There's two different differences.
Yeah.
Like, do you call them differently?
Yeah, we call them like chinnamma and pettamma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay, yeah. So
I do the
like
same thing.
for an older cousin you might say chechi, but like for an aunt that is the youngest in the family, then you'd say kochama.
Okay.
Okay.
But
So that's your Tanoma. So
Yeah.
like younger.
but she wrote, so it's like mother tiger almost.
Okay.
Is like how I would translate it, I suppose. But I downloaded the poem, and this is what it says. It's a duel in the midnight sky. You slowly feel the hope seep from your eyes, replacing the fear that once was in it. You find no significance in waking up, taking care of yourself, or conversing with the ones who pretend to love you. But where does all this hope go? It creates a flood in one place: death. People push you to be fearless. Is this what they meant? To no longer be petrified of being placed in the same nightly chokehold of words and thoughts, to let it wash over you, to let yourself drown in relief and release. In this curtain call, I bow to all the people whom I love. I wished for your existence upon the stars. They mercifully granted us time. Unfortunately, time waits for no man, and mine is up. So look above, and you'll find me in the same place I went when begging for you, the stars. Though this diamond has been buried alive, I will still shine light from a distance. With you, there will never be a complete disappearance of my existence. What is the etiology of these symptoms, of this sickness that consumes me from within me? It's the fact that I'm surrounded by individuals who takes God's gift away from me, free will. For a cage becomes a coffin when the animal is dead inside.
Oh my God. That's so deep.
Yeah, that's hella deep.
I have no words.
Do you have any other words besides that it's deep? Like what, how does that resonate with you?
I mean, I
What do you
get the
think
whole
it
like
means?
she doesn't have like she's not the independence for herself is like gone and it's like taken from her and she feels like she's lost herself. That makes sense.
I feel like it's so deep. I have no words to say. Like I just have nothing. Like I cannot. Like I have nothing to
Because
put
it's
into
that free
words.
will, right? And I feel like it's just like she's losing her identity, her freedom, her independence, and she's like, okay, like what is left of me? Like I lost hope. Like I think everyone is like she
Yeah,
like pretends to be with people who she loves.
I think it's like literally explains what goes through your head
at like
when
that,
you're
yeah,
depressed
yeah.
or when you're
When you're
suicidal.
considering
Like
suicide.
that, I could not put that into better words. Like what goes through your head. Like that is like literally what goes through your head.
So you've experienced that before.
I mean, well, I've not.
When you experience
Yes.
a sense of hopelessness.
Right.
Not necessarily suicidal ideation, but
Yeah.
a deep state of depression and sadness.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, in the poem,
It's just like it. it feels like it just like she said, like the people around you taking away like God's gift and like all that stuff. It literally feels like the people around you, even though they are not literally intentionally doing anything to you, they're like all kind of caving in on you, and it's almost like there is so much there. Like if your head is this big, there's like this much of negative thoughts. It's so hard to like push past that to go see like what you're actually here for, what you can do, like what you're good at, how you can overcome it. There's like if your brain is like 100%, the negative thoughts, or not just negative thoughts, it's just how you're feeling.
Yeah.
It's almost like when someone is, going is like depressed or something, like since I've experienced it, I can see it in someone. Like I can see if they're going through that, and I think that has been so helpful because I have been there for so many of my friends, and the one thing that they all say is I can't explain it.
Mm.
And I get it. Like I understand because like if someone were to ask me that, I would not, even if I explained it, it wouldn't sound how it sounds in my head, or it doesn't explain literally how I
You don't
feel.
have the words to say
Yeah,
it,
like
but you
there's
get
not
it.
there's not like words in the English language to literally explain how you feel, because a feeling is something that you can only understand if you feel it. And I think that, I mean, I really like, I don't, there's not like one right approach when it comes to like people that that are going through it. But personally, for me, like, it's just been the constant, like, your friends are gonna hate you, check up on them every day, but you have to do it because I don't think I could have gone, like, I could have made it this far if I didn't have like that one person checking up on me every day. It's annoying when you're going through it, but then when you're done, you're like, I could not have done it if this
Absolutely.
person wasn't there.
Absolutely.
Because then you can go to that person and talk to them. Like, you're
Yeah.
like, I am feeling this, like, and
And even if you can't talk, it's just like the
you know
fact
there's
that
someone there for you.
it's just the fact that they understand
Yeah.
what you're going through.
They
And the
silently
thing,
understand.
exactly. And the thing is like the people, when I do notice people that are, I don't want to say people because I don't, it's not that I know like 100 people that are like, going through this, but
Mm-hmm.
I do have some like very close friends that have gone through this. And the one thing that they will all say is that they can only come to me because they know I've gone through it, and it's easier to do nothing with someone that's already gone through it than explain it to someone that's never gone through it.
Right.
So like they can sit with me in silence and feel so much better than if they went to someone that never experienced it and tried to explain it.
Because having to explain yourself is so, not only is it a lot of work for you in regards of self-reflection, which is helpful in a way, but it also forces you to become vulnerable
Yeah.
versus if you don't have to become vulnerable with someone that was already vulnerable for you.
And then not to mention also comes down to if the victim is even willing to, like if sometimes people are in so deep that they think it's pointless to even talk about.
Well, that about wraps it up, guys. And we really appreciate everybody that listened in. And if any of this resonated with you, or if you are going through any suicidal ideation, or you really just need someone to talk to, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline 988, and the crisis text line is 741-741. And then when you text that, you text home, and then the services start.
Also, we're gonna go ahead and put the numbers in the description below and on this screen at the bottom. Also, if it's not something you want to do, always remember that our DMs are always open. And I don't know about Shivani, but me and Alina have personally gone through this, so you just want to talk to us about literally anything, feel free to DM us on the We Evolve Instagram, and we will be in touch.
Or the website.
But I do want to preface this. We are not medical professionals, and we highly, highly encourage you to seek professional help if your life or somebody else's life becomes in danger. Stay safe, guys.
Right. Bye,
Okay,
guys.
that's all. Bye, guys. Stay tuned for our next episode.